what we're going to do for the rest of the evening is have an experimental session, as it were. I titled it, and Jesse titled it on the conference program, Singing Through Tears, Canadian Jewish Choirs in the Age of COVID-19. However, one of our participants has already taken issue with the idea of tears. And so perhaps these will have to be tears of joy, or we'll negotiate the meaning thereof. But what we'll be doing is we'll be joined by 5 different people who are either choristers or have academics who have worked in the field of or devoted themselves to work with choirs. And what I'm going to do now is ask if Theodora can sort of spotlight a number of us. Benita Wolters-Fredlund, who should be there on the list. Minda Wershof, who should also be somewhere about. Sue Potechin. Great. Faith Jones. And Roslyn, last but not least, Roz Schwartz. There's one more coming. Roz is there. Wonderful. Thank you all for joining. And so what I'm going to do, I have some short bios, and I'm going to ask them a few questions, and we'll sort of negotiate the topic, work through the topic together. And then if they have questions for each other or want to talk, we'll take some time to do that. We'll, if time permits, share some videos, and then Roz is going to soundly, pun intended, lead us through a sort of sing-along choral session as a group. And hopefully this will be an interesting way to cap off what is, like I said, the first virtual online community day for the ACJS. So in no particular order, I will give you the bios. Let's start with Faith. Faith, who's listed there as Faith Nomi Jones, is a college librarian, researcher, and translator in Vancouver. She is a longtime ACJS member, and she has presented her research on Yiddish culture with us and in Winnipeg and in Vancouver. Last time we were there as well. Her latest project is a translation of a book of stories by the Soviet Yiddish writer Shira Gorshman, forthcoming from White Goat Press this summer, which is great. And she's been a member of the Vancouver Jewish Folk Choir for 7 years and will be speaking to that. Minda was born in Montreal, raised in Ottawa. You can disagree with me if I make a mistake somewhere in here, but I was just going through. Has always loved to sing and dance, and it has always been a part of her life. At one time, she was a part of 4 different choirs. I don't know how this happens. And has always studied Jewish affairs. She has volunteered in several Jewish organizations, including synagogues, school boards, and fundraising groups. There's going to be a theme emerging here, isn't there? Minda trained at the University of Toronto as a pharmacist and has worked in various settings in Canada and in Israel as well. And her main love is the choral singing and Musica, Ebraica. And so she'll be talking about that. As I move on to Professor Benita Wolters-Fredlund, she is a professor of music and the dean at the School of Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences at Calvin University in Michigan. Correct? Yes, wonderful, thank you. Grand Rapids, Michigan, there it is. And she has taught courses in popular music, American music, world music, and Western classical music. She holds graduate degrees in musicology from UBC, that's my own alma mater for my undergrad, and U of T, University of Toronto, and has published on the music of the Jewish left in North America, music of the Holocaust, and on the early history of the Canadian League of Composers. And her PhD dissertation, which hopefully she'll talk about tonight, is is on the early history of the Toronto Jewish Folk Choir. And Roz Schwartz is there as well, is a Jewish composer and performer whose work has been published and performed around the world. She has her first CD, Singing Through the Night, which has been described as inspirational, nourishing, and healing. She is involved as the, deep breath, founder, artistic director, and conductor of the Kingston Jewish Community Choir, a founding board member of the Kingston Open Voices Community Choir, and serves as a song leader, music educator, and cantorial soloist. And she's also been a physician for over 30 years. So she managed to sneak that one in as a hobby on the side. And we'll talk about all these things perhaps later. And then last but certainly not least, my dear friend Sue Potechin, who is a cantorial soloist and member of the Temple Israel Liturgical Choir in Ottawa. She's halfway through an executive master's program in Jewish education at Hebrew Union College and the Jewish Institute of Religion, or in the Jewish Institute of Religion. She's currently the principal of Temple Israel Religious School until the end of June, and is transitioning into the position of adult education and cultural program manager at the Soloway JCC, which she started all the way back in March. Those are the bios. These are the people that are gathered to share with us their discussions and their insights and their knowledge and love of music. And so what I'd like to do is go around the horn and kind of ask you to a couple of questions that I think will help us situate this idea of choral singing. The first thing that I need to ask, because this is, it's a community day, we know that this is important. You've all been involved in some way or other in choirs and choral practice or in research. And so I would ask you to answer this question. Why is, or why was choral singing and choirs so important to Jewish life? Because clearly they have been in some way or other. And I don't know who would like to start first. Perhaps Benita, you look at this historically in your work. Perhaps you could sort of do the opening salvo for us, please.
Sure. So, my knowledge of this is sort of limited to the project that I was involved in for my dissertation. So I can talk about what it meant for the Toronto Jewish Folk Choir in their early years. And the period I'm talking about here is about 1925 to 1950. And so this is a period when most of these folks would have been recent immigrants to Canada. And many of them who I interviewed for my dissertation project said very simply that the choir was their family. They came to a new place, and it was a place where they got support for all kinds of things that were outside of music making, right? This is where they learned English. It's where they had friends and neighbors. Their social circle became completely overlapped with their choir world. Part of that was because they spent so much time rehearsing together. So, these were the people that they were with. After their work was done, they would go sing for choir. And part of that was because many of these folks joined without knowing how to sight read. A lot of the music was learned by rote. And so, it took a lot of time. So 3 or 4 nights a week, they were together singing. So I think in the case of that example, it really was such an important social network for them. And then you could maybe go beyond that to talk about how it really helped express their identity as well. And in this particular group, that was kind of a complex overlap of Jewish, Canadian, progressive, and they would, not only in their repertoire, really sort of try to express those aspects of their identity, but even in the concert programs, they would say, we are singing this because we're trying to make the world a better place. And so it gave them a sense of identity and a sense of purpose, which I think was just very, very, very rich. One of my favorite quotes that I came across in researching the choir was they had Paul Robeson visit them a number of times in the 40s, and they would always host a lavish banquet when he was there, and they would sort of fet him. And there's a recording of the speech that he gave to the choir, and it opens with, "This is not just a choir. We all know that." And I just think that encapsulates it so well, that it's not really, in some ways, making music is like, I don't know, 10th on the list of things that are important about that group and how they function together. Sorry, so that's where I would start.
That's brilliant. Thank you. has anything, this is my follow-up question to the others, has anything changed? Please.
I mean, I can attest to the fact that the choir is certainly a family. We were founded 20 years ago. I was a founding member, and I've been president or co-president for a large portion of that time. And the choir, somehow you just coalesce. Many people are still singing from 20 years ago who started out with us. And one does feel this connection, even though in Musica, Ebraica, it's a very fancy name because we used to sing Solomon Rossi, 16th century Italian music, and we loved him so much, so that influences our name. We just have incorporated not just the Jewish members of the Ottawa community, but we have a very large group of people who are not Jewish and love this music and sing with us. And most of our conductors over the years have not been Jewish. Actually, I think we've only had one Jewish conductor who left to become a cantor later on, very unfortunately for us, but wonderful for him. But it was important to us to embrace the entire Ottawa community and beyond, and to be able to extend this warmth and familiarity that we feel with one another to other people, so that they would connect in some way to Judaism and to understand us as a people. This includes the non-Jews who sing with us and the non-Jewish audience who comes to hear us. So
fascinating. Faith, I think you were just starting to say something as well.
Yes. Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Good.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yes. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm sending greetings from the traditional unceded and ancestral territories of the Squamish, the Tsleil-Waututh, and the Musqueam people here in British Columbia. So I would say, in response to what Benita said about the Toronto Jewish Folk Choir, our choir, the Vancouver Jewish Folk Choir, was actually modeled on that choir. But it's completely different because we were started in 1979. So it was not, it did not perform those same kinds of functions. I would say about our choir, what it does to create community is it has a very, very low bar for entry. So you do not have to know anything when you come into the choir. You don't have to know how to say a Hebrew prayer, as opposed to when you go to synagogue, the first day you go to synagogue, you're expected to know how to pray. Like somebody just hands you the book and it's like, great. So if you don't know, you can't really participate in the same way. We don't have any of those barriers. Everything is transliterated. You don't even have to know about music. Like seriously, I am not a good singer, but you just go, you open your mouth and you sing with other people. So it's a very low bar to entry. And I think that allows people who have a variety of interests, a variety of knowledge sets to come into the choir and just immediately be equal to everybody else. So that's, to us, I think that's how we do it.
You mean a democratic bar? Sorry, Roz, please.
So these are addressing the issues of how a choir contributes to community and connection. Is my sound fine?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I'd like to address the issue of music in general, Jewish music, and why it's important. And I encapsulate this in the chorus of one of my songs called A Praying in Three Dimensions, which goes, "When I pray, the blessings flow in three dimensions, weaving inward, outward, upward from my soul." So the inward component is the way in which music connects us to our soul and to our heart. And Jewish music in specific, because it carries the memories and the connections with past generations, with future, with the prayers, it's very significant even if you're singing by yourself. The second layer is the outwards. When I pray I connect outwards to the community in the ways that all of you have described, and that is extremely important. And yes, my choir members also refer to our little choir family. And if somebody is sick, we come to their help. And in fact, during COVID, one of the habits we've taken on is we always finish, the second to last song is always the Misha Berach. And we identify anybody who is specifically ill, and then we say, plus anybody else who needs healing, And then the third is the connection upwards, because spiritual prayer, singing is a type of spirituality that can occur whether or not you understand the words. Lately, we've been working on nigunim, which are wordless prayers, and there's a sort of course about them in which they say that nigunim allow you to connect to your soul, to your spirituality, upwards to God, in ways that when you apply a word, you get too much into your head. So these three directions to me are fundamental to the importance of Jewish music to us as individuals and to us as a community.
Wonderful. Thank you, Roz. Yes, Sue, of course.
Our liturgical choir is very much a family. We are about 20 people, and we've been around for, I want to say, 50 years approximately. I was trying to ascertain the exact year we started. I know that by the time I was 9, I remember being in the choir, but I'm not really sure if it was before that. I just remember for some reason 9. And the person who was the choir director at that time, her daughter has been our accompanist for some time as well, for many years, which is kind of neat. So it is within the family. It is, as Roz was just saying, good times and bad times. And unfortunately, we all came together very, very recently as one of our choir members passed away just a couple of weeks ago. And I was very honored and privileged to lead the Shiva for that. And all of the choir was there, just to be together, to commiserate it, etc. So in good times and in bad times, we're definitely together. Music is a very big part of our congregation. We love music and we love to sing. So whether it is in services just generally or at high holidays or what have you, it is really that connection that we have has really been challenged in COVID. So, and we're going to get to that a little bit later, I think. And I just want to say, Roz, I'm really glad to meet you because I've been working with Melech this year and only just recently learned that you had a choir in Kingston.
That's wonderful. I mean, it's one of the things about these community days that is not only does the ACJS reach out to the community, but people across the community or across communities learn about each other in new ways. And I think that's really important, whether it be academics or different geographies, etc. I think one of the things that I'm really interested in here is so we've definitely talked about it as a family, and we've talked about the spirituality of music, which I think everybody will sort of by default agree to. But there's another element there which is interesting, which is identity, right? And how this identity, I think everybody's spoken. I was teasing Faith earlier on about this idea of the democratic, bar, but in some respects that it's an inclusivity that is Jewish and non-Jewish. And I wonder if anybody would care to comment on how that reinforces or runs counter to a Jewish identity in the choir or something, and historically or contemporaneously.
I have a lot to say about this. I'll try to be brief. In the last couple of years, we've put a lot of thought into how to carefully, thoughtfully include people who may have been excluded in the past. So, for example, if you have a person who is transitioning gender, their vocal range will probably change and might change more than once. So you have to be really flexible and able to, to accommodate them with those things and to make them feel comfortable with those things. There are financial barriers, like for choir fees and for costumes. Are we making assumptions that Jews have financial resources, and who gets excluded when we make that assumption? We've also had people who have a lot of difficulty standing for long periods of time, and yet we do not always have a way for people to sit down during long sets. So what does that mean in terms of a kind of exclusion? And this stuff all really, became, a huge issue for us with the simplest thing. These sound like they should be easy accommodations, but actually people change. It's very hard for people to change. And maybe Benita, as a scholar, can give me some insight as to why it is that costumes are a thing that make people absolutely meshuggah. So we used to have costumes where the gentleman wore, a bow tie and a cummerbund, and the ladies wore a scarf, and this was very uncomfortable for a number of people for a lot of reasons, not only because the scarves were like incredibly hot and itchy and you're standing on stage schwitzing and, all that kind of stuff, but also just because of the gender assumptions that went with it. I mean, first of all, are we not one choir? Are we two choirs with two different costumes? Are we not all people singing together who are equal? No, we are ladies and gentlemen. So people were very uncomfortable with that. But also there were specific gender reasons why it just didn't work. Like my partner, who also sings in the choir, is a tenor. And so when she sings with the tenors, does she have to choose to either dress as a woman and therefore point out her difference from the other tenors, or dress as a man and therefore point out her difference from other women? What choice are we asking her to make when we make these decisions about costumes that are based on gender? So after much discussion, I mean, really a lot of discussion, we did not do it quickly. We did not do it without consultation. We decided to move to an all Black ensemble, which is what 99% of choirs do. Wow, we just thought, done and dusted. That's great. That's so easy. But no, because one person who really, really, really opposed this change who was a former communications person for within the choir and had the email of every single person in the choir, and sent out not one, not two, but 3 emails complaining about this, and sometimes in quite nasty language, before we finally prevailed upon him to shut the fuck up. So why, when we talk about a choir as a family, we could be a family, but sometimes we're a dysfunctional family. And how do we be inclusive when we're still trying to include grandpa over there who is having a hard time with this change?
Yeah.
And I shouldn't be ageist about it. Young people can also have trouble with change. In this case, it was an older person who was having the trouble. But when we talk about inclusivity and wanting to be like a family, what are we really accomplishing with that?
Yeah.
Are we actually being a family at the expense of people who cannot accommodate themselves to the expectations of the family?
Thank you, Faith, for that colorful story. Minda, I see your hand up.
I just sympathize with your story, because in our 20 years, we have had all of those situations, except the costume problem, because what we did was order beautiful fabric and had it made into something that looks kind of like a talit. And so we all wear black pants, not pants, whatever you prefer. And we all wear this very beautiful shawl with the proviso that you have to pin it on, which does make for a bit of hysteria before a concert, but that's our biggest problem. We have people who cannot stand, and what we do is just have chairs for them. And we have had people transitioning. We had one woman who sang soprano, alto, tenor, bass as she transitioned, and I think she's now non-binary, and she is no longer singing with us after about 7 years. But all of those things just take a little bit of flexibility, and we're not really a democracy. The conductor makes a lot of decisions. Whoever the conductor is, they're given the decision, and people just need to help one another and accommodate one another, because that's what makes for better singing. So when we had somebody with a disability who just couldn't, we had 3 people sitting down at a concert. It was a great concert. We did a concert on Mavens of the Musical, Jewish theater music, and the whole gamut from a Goldfaden operetta, all the way to Ethel Merman and everything in between. It was loads of fun. And we had 3 people seated, and everybody was as comfortable as we could possibly make them in an area that was very uncomfortable. Sorry, I spoke too much, but
No, can I ask a question, because I want to compare this historically as well. Does this sound familiar, Benita, to what sort of discussions were occurring between 1925 and 1950, or is this completely a different map that we're navigating now?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say the dysfunctional family part really resonates, but the issues were different. So, for someone in the 1930s, thinking about someone transitioning or thinking about sort of questioning gender roles, that was not on their map at all. But with a group that had politics at the forefront, that's the thing that made a dysfunctional family, the splits and counter splits. And then, for this organization, the biggest disruption was in 1956 when the anti-Semitic atrocities of Stalin became confirmed. And then they had this, this real tough decision to make about how to move forward. And some said, we're still going to side with the Soviet Union, and others said, there's no way we will. And it was horrible. I mean, families broken apart and deep friendships rifted because they're could not agree. So yes, families also become dysfunctional, and that's definitely true for the group that I worked with as well.
Interesting. Yeah, Roz, please.
So addressing the question of who can belong, in our community in Kingston, there was a lot of historical sorrow around the question of who was a Jew, specifically in terms of who was allowed to join the Orthodox synagogue. And there had been all kinds of suffering that had occurred because of that. And I didn't want to get into that. So we debated who is a Jew, and we decided that the requirement to join was not going to address who you are, but only what you wanted to do. And so the current requirement to join is that you want to join us in singing Jewish music. Period, end of story. So Faith, I echo yours. There's no musical expectations. We don't have an audition. You just, if you want to join to sing Jewish music, we're there for you. Now, then there was the question of what is Jewish music? And when one choir member who was a smart aleck said, but I want to sing Away in the Manger, I said, no, that's outside the realm. We're not going there. Percy Marcus, Yocheved, you're looking puzzled. But we've extended it to any kind of music that has a spiritual basis. So we do sometimes, most of our music is either Hebrew or English or Yiddish, sometimes Ladino, but sometimes we do like gospel songs. If it's spiritually moving and connecting and the choir members like it, then that goes into our repertoire. So that's the question of membership. The question of costumes also went through many iterations. And because blue is my favorite color, and because it's not completely a democracy, our current costume is solid color blue top, dark color panzer skirt. Period, end of story.
And that's it. No negotiation. I think
still negotiation, but
sorry, Sue, did you want to pipe in, or are you just doing jazz hands?
I would love to pipe in.
Yeah.
Thanks. We started off with robes, and which were obviously very hot, like the scarves that Minda was talking about. And then we actually went to these colorful scarves that were like silk or something and small, and they were just to show that we were all part of the choir. And then those were lost somehow. So for many years, we've been just doing white on top and black usually, or dark on the bottom. That's men and women, it doesn't matter. Our choir members are temple members. Although we originally said you had to be Jewish, and there are stories of members of the congregation who, after conversion, were excitedly, joining the choir. Now, if we have spouses of or Jewish adjacent members are also welcome in the choir. I'm sorry if my dog climbs up on my lap in a second. Sorry, Teddy, go down. We have had one director, I beg your pardon, for many years. I want to say somewhere between 20 and 30 years. But otherwise, we had short-term, we did have non-Jewish choir directors. And one year we had a few non-Jewish members that were kind of ringers in the choir for the high holidays. So that was a little bit interesting and controversial. But we are not trained necessarily. Not everybody can read music. We are all, we just, if you want to be, if you love music and you want to participate, I can't reach it, Ted, and you want to participate, then by all means join us. And that's even if you are, all hunched over and you have no breath left, or you can't hear what anybody is saying around you, or what have you. And we are mostly over 50, but most choirs are around here.
I think there's something really interesting. I kind of want to pick up, to a different question, but so that we have enough time to still try to sing along and everything. But here's the question that I think relates back to this sort of debate over the title of this session. Like I said, we thought it was going to be Singing Through Tears, but perhaps maybe it should be Singing Through Tears with a question mark or something like that. But I mean, this last year, we conceived of this originally as a session that built around this idea of maintaining community in a time of COVID, in a time of isolation. And I think we'll get to that still. But how has this played out both now as we deal with this imposed isolation, but also I wonder how choirs and choral singing has responded to, Benita was sort of intimating this already, to trauma more generally, right? Obviously in terms of Stalin's crimes and so on and so forth, but 1925 to 1950, this is contemporaneous also with the Holocaust, for instance. So how do these families, these singing families, how does this help or not help? Perhaps we'll start historically again and then branch out more broadly and then sort of go to our next area.
Yeah, sure. So, you've already said exactly where I would go, which was to look at the repertoire choices that the choir had during the war. And it's interesting that they, very, very explicitly addressed what was happening overseas, and not only in their repertoire, but in their sort of the essays they would have in their programs as well. And I think two things were important in that moment. One was just acknowledging the sorrow that they felt and the anger that they felt. But the other was to express a proud Jewish identity as a sort of act of defiance. And both of those are just, very, very prominent in the repertoire of those years. I'd be interested to hear if there's any parallels to a more contemporary experience from some of you who are making music in this kind of very different, but also traumatic moment.
Mm-hmm. Have your musical selections changed? This is to the contemporary choristers in the group.
You mean because of COVID?
Yeah, or generally based on trauma, moments of trauma.
I mean, we sing along of music that deals with trauma. I mean, we're a social justice choir, so we sing a lot of songs that do have something to do with with historical events for the Jews or for other people. I mean, the main way our repertoire has changed during COVID is that we're singing over Zoom. We sing a lot more in unison because it's a lot easier to manage, especially with new people. So that's one way that we've handled it. But that won't be ongoing. Down the road, we'll be singing our parts again.
Anyone else like to weigh in? Minda, please.
We're an auditioned choir and have been from the onset because we wanted to sing music that was more difficult and more challenging. And over the years, I think we've done a little bit of everything, including a Hungarian song, which was incredibly difficult to pronounce for those of us who don't speak Hungarian. But we've done Yiddish Ladino, and we did a song from Calcutta that somebody arranged for us. And we've just had a very broad repertoire. And part of it is because we wanted to do things that touched a very, very large range of Jewish communities and through the ages. And I have to give a lot of credit to the Zamir Chorale and the Zamir Foundation in New York and in Boston, who are wonderful resources. And we often, those of us who go to their conferences just learn so much music. I mean, we've sung the music of the Jews of England, Cantor Mombach, who composed in the 1800s. And I mean, Lewandowski, the old repertoire of Lewandowski, Nautenberg, and Novakovsky in Odessa, and as I said, Rossi. We've done Canadian music, Glick and Rabinovich, and we also have encouraged local composers to compose for us. There's a wonderful gentleman named Leo Lightstone, who's unknown, unfortunately, who has written beautiful music based on the Psalms or Shira Shirin, the Song of Songs. Anyway, so the music that we chose to post on YouTube that we did, in this virtual choir was Oseh Shalom and Bashana Haba'ah. So next year it's all going to be better. But when we did this a year ago, we thought for sure we'd be together now. And in Ontario, certainly it's going to take an awful lot longer until we can all meet in person. So what we do is just meet virtually every once in a while, have a party online. We can't really sing. You have to mute and sing. So if you want to produce good music, the hardest thing in the world is to sing to yourself on camera and then have your wonderful technician turn it all into magical music. So
yeah, I think maybe what they'll, Roz, what I was going to do actually now was just play a sample from Musica Ebraica, because I think it's really neat to see how they've done this. If I can get have the technical wizardry to do this. And then after that, we'll segue nicely into trying to replicate the beauty of their sound, and Roz can help us through that. So I'm just going to try to share my screen here and see if this will work. See, I have Bashana Haba'ah, if that is okay, as a selection. Let me just make sure I have it all. Share sound. I have a brand new computer, so I'm not totally sure if I'm going to get this. I'll try to do it as best as I possibly can, and you will have to tell me if it's not working. Can you hear this? I'm, oh, let me just try to shut off whatever's going on there. Sorry. Pardon me. There we are. Sorry about that. So the I'm speechless because, well, I'm not because I'm speaking, but I'm speechless because every Friday night when we try to do our Zoom Shabbat, the cacophony that ensues is a wonder in and unto itself. And so I know that a lot of you have recorded these things, and there's a wonderful opportunity to share. And I hope if anybody's interested that people reach out to your choirs to join. But what I'd like now to sort of segue over to and really work on here is how, Roz, can you teach us to sing in unison like this or somehow sound this good? And so I'd like to spend, I know it's 5 to 7. We've had a lovely long day, but I want to close out our community day by singing together as a community. And so if you can teach us to do this and we can practice a little bit, it'll set my heart alight. So let's try to do that. I will. Do you know you're a co-host, so you can share your screen and everything?
Yes, actually, I've asked Theodora to do that so that I can concentrate on leading. But I'm not quite ready to share the screen because I want to give you just a couple minutes of background. When COVID began, March 2020, we were in debate, what were we going to do? Because singing together as a choir is a super spreading event. 27 feet is not close enough, is not far enough away from each other. And so some of my choir members said, well, we'll just put this on hold and we'll start singing again when we can get together physically. And I'm like, we don't know when that's going to happen. I don't want to do that. This is my chance to sing every week. And if I don't sing every week, I can hear the change in my voice if I miss 1 week. And then I can hear the change in my ability to hear your voices after 2 weeks. I want to carry on and we'll figure out how to do it. And there were a number of challenges, which I will explain as we go along, and a number of strategies that we came up with. In fact, many, many strategies which we came up with, which make singing to me, so I was the one who objected to the name Singing Through Tears because that sounds to me like sad tears. I do like singing through joyous tears. Singing on Zoom with my choir members has been intimate and close and connected and joyous. And we've had several members who quit the choir years ago because it was too hard to get to the rehearsals. And they're back. And they have said, because I just press a button and here I am. I don't have to take an extra half an hour to drive and to park and to get, and look after the kids. I am here. So, there have been ways in which this has been so wonderful and joyous. And one thing I just want to, so there's 2 things. You can see the 3 choir members of us. We have the cloud backgrounds. That tells you who we are. And I would like to introduce Yochevet Katan, who was there the day the choir started in 2004. She is one of our long-term members. And then Ruth Kay, who is our newest choir member, in fact, joined today because I happened to reach out to her and say, there's this talk going on. You want to come to a sing-along? And she said, yeah, why wouldn't I? And I said, well, do you want to join our choir? And she says, yeah, why wouldn't I? So Zoom, and she's in Ottawa. I'm in Kingston. She could not join our choir except for Zoom. So that's a bit about the background and why I say singing through. I wanted to say singing in joy, but recognizing that not everybody's joyous, at least singing together. And so now I will give you some strategies for singing together. The first thing is an acknowledgement of what I call the dreaded lag. And that's the fact that the sound is processed by the computer in such a way that when people sing, oh, Melissa, we have an additional choir member. Melissa, wave at us, please. Melissa is one of the choir members who stopped attending because she couldn't get into choir and is now back singing with us because Zoom lets her be there. So, okay, so one of the key concepts, we cannot do auditory singing together because of this dreaded lag, which brings the cacophony that Hernan was describing, because the sound is all jagged. Although there are occasions where joyous cacophony is one of our styles. But we have found a number of other styles where we can sing together. So I would like to actually, rather than show by having you sing together with me. The first thing is can make sure none of us is on spotlight. I say that to the techie person. We don't want any of us spotlighted because this is not a performance, it's a sing-along. The second thing is for any of you in the upper right-hand corner where it says view, make sure that you are on gallery view, not speaker view. Because again, I want all of you to see each other as if we are in the same room. Thirdly, if you are extremely camera shy, okay, fine, we accept everybody wherever you're at. But if you are willing, I would really encourage you to come on video so that we can see you. Because if we can't sing together auditorially at the same time, we can sing together visually. And I don't know if you noticed I was going, that's different than if I'm going, right? And so I want you all to sing along with us as we sing. Sometimes you'll be on mute and sometimes you'll be off mute, but we will see you singing together. Now, here's a little tidbit of connectedness. I would like you to reach your hands up and point them outwards as if you're doing an Israeli dance where you're all in a circle, and position your hands at the edge of your Zoom screen. So everybody should be touching the hands of the person beside you. Got that? The next step, when I tell you, we're going to do high fives. Don't do it yet. We're going to go like this. Put your hands beside your face and snap them outwards so we'll high five each other. Ready? First, put them out to the side. I'm going to count to 3. I'm going to count down from 3. 3, 2, 1, boom. All right. So now we're connected. We are connected in a circle. We are sharing. There's a number of other ways that you can also connect. There's this one, but one is good enough. The second thing that I would like to point out, there's different ways of clapping. That's a standard clap. Jazz hands, can you all clap for me, please? I like to be center of attention. And jazz hands is another one, and you can pick which one you want. I'm going to look at my notes here. Virtual singing, gallery view, video on unless you're super camera shy. Oh, muting off and on. Just take a second to practice unmuting and muting yourself. In the lower left-hand corner, there's a button called mute. If it has a red button, the red line will come off. So could everybody please unmute just for the practice of it? And then now could you, except for me, because I'm talking. Okay, so there will be times when I will ask you to unmute or mute yourself, and there will be choices that you have in that. Screen share for the words. So you don't need to have your own lyrics. We're going to screen share for them. This might be a bit tricky for some of you, but there is a way when there's a screen share up on the left side that you can slide to make it smaller so that you can get a bigger picture of all the gallery view people. So can you screen share for a second? If you look at the screen share on the left, on its far right, there's a line with there's a vertical line. If you hover over it, it turns into a horizontal arrow with pointers at both ends. And if you slide that arrow to the left, then the screen share gets small. And I put it in bold 24 points, so you should still be able to see it. But the gallery view gets bigger, so we can see more of you.
I don't understand.
Okay, it's not worth spending a whole lot of time on, but for those of you who are able to, it just gives you a better view of everybody so that we're singing together. And this addresses the question about admission standards to a choir and auditions. And I don't think of bad singers and good singers. I think of shy singers and confident singers. And I think that God did not say make a perfect noise. God said make a joyful noise. God didn't even say make joyful music. God just said make a joyful noise. And that is what I invite you to do. And one of the really super cool things about a Zoom sing-along is that if you're on mute, nobody can hear you. So if you've got all the notes wrong and you're out of tune, I don't care. As long as you're going, then it feels like we're singing together and I'm having fun doing it. So if you've never sung in front of other people, this is your chance to do it, and you won't have to be embarrassed. You'll just have fun. The whole point of this is ruach and fun. So that is my intro. And now we're going to start singing. Some of you will know these songs. Some of you will not know these songs, but that's okay. You'll learn. The first song, if we can screen share, please, Hine Matov, page 1. Hine Matov has about 30,000 different versions. We're only going to do 2. And our choir has been starting with these 2 versions of Hine Matov we started in 2004. Every single rehearsal starts with these 2. Hine Matov, see how good, umanayim, how beautiful, shevet achim, to be together, gam yachad, sharing together. And that's what we're doing. And I want to throw in a random devar that I heard from somebody, which is when the temple was destroyed, we had to move from a centralized place of worship to smaller places of worship in the synagogues. Now that we cannot meet in our central synagogues, we are again moving out into the community, into the world, bringing ourselves and our spirituality everywhere. Hine matovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad, together here. So this is called either pass the baton or round robin. And Yocheved and I are going to alternate lines. So the 2 of us are going to be off mute. Everybody else is on mute, but if you know the melody, and even if you don't know the melody, we would love you to sing along with us as we sing along. Here we go. Version 1 followed by version 2. Hine matovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad.
Hine matovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad.
Hine matov shevet achim gam yachad.
Hine matov shevet achim gam yachad.
Hine matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad.
Hine matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad.
Hine matov, la 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 la.
Hine matov, la 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 la.
La 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 la. La 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 la.
La 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 la. La 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 la.
Tadaraba. Next song, please. Now, this song is with a song style called call and response and joyous cacophony, because we would like everybody to come off mute, and you'll see what happens. And how we're going to do it, I'm putting away my guitar here, is I'm going to sing a phrase, and you're going to sing back to me. So some of you are not off mute. Could everybody please go off mute? Everybody, unless you really, really don't want to, but everybody else is going to be singing, so nobody else will hear you. They'll just hear me, but not you. I'm taking a break for water. Yocheved, you're still on mute.
Okay, here I
There we
am.
go. Thank you. Okay. So I sing and you sing. The first time I'll cue you, but after that you just watch my hands. This means it's my turn. That means it's your turn. Okay? Chiri bim.
Chiri bim.
So you just copy exactly what I said. So if I say chiri bim, you say chiri bim. You have to wait till I get to the chiri bum before you go on. Chiri bim.
Chiri
bim.
Chiri bum.
Chiri
bum.
Chiri bim bum bim bum bim bum.
Chiri
bim
bum.
Chiri bim.
Chiri bim.
Chiri bum.
Chiri bum.
Chiri bim bum bim bum bum. I'm going to interject for a second and say that to me, this is like when you go into an Orthodox shul and everybody is praying the prayers at their own pace, at their own time. There's no attempt to be together. And like nobody says, oh, that's terrible. They just sing. So let's carry on. I biri 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 bim bum bum.
I chiri bim.
I biri 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 bim bum bum. I biri 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 bim bum bum. Biri bim bum bim bum bum.
Bim, bam, bam, bam.
Bum, bum.
Applaud for yourselves. That was lovely. Okay, next song. We are on to Ose Shalom because it is a time we need peace. And Yocheved is, so this is called Follow the Leader. And Yocheved is going to sing. Everybody else, please mute yourself. Everybody on mute, please. But please sing along if you know the song. And if you don't know the song, just listen. It's a prayer for peace that would be a wonderful thing to have in this world. The coordinator, if somebody's not on mute, can you please mute them? Except for me and Yocheved. Here we go.
First note.
Oh, yes. Me and my guitar.
Thank you.
Mm.
Ose shalom bimroma, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Vimru, imru, omen. Yase shalom, yase shalom, yase shalom, yase shalom, yase shalom, yase shalom. Shalom aleinu v'yako Yisrael.
And if you want to express heartfelt feelings, you can either put your hands on your chest to address your heart, or you can offer us a heart, or sometimes you can offer us a hug. These are ways of communicating on Zoom, even if you're on mute. Next song. So next song is Senna, which is an Israeli song, which is about encouraging matchmaking. It says to the young women, go out and meet some young men, go out from the moshav, go out, don't be afraid of the men of the soldiers. That's where you're going to make a match. That's where you're going to meet your, go out. Senna is go out. Chayalim b'moshava, go out from the moshav. Al natit yarene, do not be afraid, mi ben chayil, of a soldier, is tzava. Don't be afraid of the soldiers. They're looking to meet young women. That's what we want. So we're going to do this as pass the baton. Yocheved and I will alternate, and then everybody else will sing along on mute. Here we go. I'll give you, oh no, actually I'll start. Senna, 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 abanot turenna, chayalim, b'moshava.
Alna, 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 alna titjerenna, mi bencha, lil isava.
I'm going to move it down one notch because it's going to get high. Senna, Senna, abanot turenna, chayalim, b'moshava.
Alna, alna, alna titjerenna, mi bencha, lil isava.
Now this one has a clap, so I can't play guitar and clap at the same time, so I'm just going to sing. Senna, 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 Senna.
Senna, 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 Senna.
All right. Now, the next song switches from Hebrew to Yiddish because I wanted to give a nod to all the different languages that we perform, that we sing together. As I say, it's not really a performance, it's a sing-along. And I expect you will all know the chorus or will catch on really quickly, which I will be leading. And Yocheved will solo on verse 1 and Ruth will solo on verse 2. And I want to tell you a little story about Ruth, who happens to be my cousin. And her father played mandolin when he was alive. And so this song, every time I hear this song, I think of my Uncle Carl playing his mandolin. So it's lovely to have Ruth singing verse 2. Okay, so for the choruses, you'll sing with me. And on the verses, these are solos, and you'll just be listening. Oh, and it's a riddle song in which a young man is deciding who to marry. And so he poses 3 riddle questions. And in the final verse, there's a riddle answer. And because I want to get on to singing, I'm not going to explain it all, but you can look it up and the internet will answer you. Tumbala, tumbala, tumbala laika, tumbala, tumbala, tumbala laika, tumbala laika, spiel balalaika, tumbala laika, vredig soll sein.
Jede Brache und Tracht, Tracht und Tracht, ganze Nacht. Sollte nehmen und nicht verschämen, soll sie nehmen und nicht verschämen.
Tumbala, tumbala, tumbala laika, tumbala, tumbala, tumbala laika, tumbala laika, spiel balalaika, tumbala laika, vredig soll sein.
Mädel, Mädel, ich will bei dir fragen, was kann wachsen, wachsen und regen, was kann brennen und nicht aufhören, was kann bänken, wären ein Tränen.
Tumbala, tumbala, tumbala laika, tumbala, tumbala, tumbala laika, tumbala laika, spiel balalaika, tumbala laika, vredig soll sein. Narische Boche, ich will darfst du fragen, a Stein kann wachsen, wachsen und regen, Liebe kann brennen und nicht aufhören, a Herz kann bänken, weinen und tränen. Tumbala, tumbala, tumbala laika, tumbala, tumbala, tumbala laika, tumbala laika, spiel balalaika, tumbala laika, vredig soll sein. All right. Our next offering. So I'm going to put up the lyrics for a moment of Lean on Me by Bill Withers. One of the song styles that we do is sing along to a video. And we've already watched a video, so I'm not going to actually do the video for this one. But the concept of singing along to a video is that if you find a video that has harmony parts, then your harmony singers can practice singing their harmony parts as they listen to the other parts. And one of the skills that you acquire when you practice singing in harmony is staying on your own line and not being distracted by the other lines. And so that skill needs to be practiced. And by singing along with a video, a harmony video, you're able to hear the voices. And especially if it's a harmony that was generated by your own choir, you're actually hearing their voices, and you can have a harmony rehearsal where you sing your part and practice singing together. You can also go into breakout rooms and practice as a section, do your sectional, and then come back as a group and do it together. So the other point I wanted to make about Lean on Me is that this is an example of one of the songs that is not a Jewish song, but has a very Jewish message. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend, I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long that I'm going to need somebody to lean on. And this is exactly what we were talking about, how choirs create that environment of lean on. So let's move on past that to Olam Chesed Yubaneh. This is a very modern song written by Rabbi Menachem Kreditor. And as I mentioned, our choir has been studying Nigunim lately. And this does have some words, but it also functions as a Nigun. And one of the ways in which I saw this song performed actually yesterday was that the leader sang it and then had the participants type additional words into the chat. And so they sang lines based on those additional words. So instead of I will build this word from love, I will build this word from peace or from joy or whatever. I would also invite you, those of you who are singers, if you want to sing a line of this song, to write in your name in the chat, and then when it comes to your turn based on the chat, to take a turn singing a line. So the melody goes, Olam chesed yibaneh, yada da 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 da. Olam chesed yibaneh, da 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 da. And the English is, I will build this word from love. Yada da 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 da. And you must build this world from love. Yada da 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 da. And then there's a second part which you can do if you choose. And if we build this world from love, yada da 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 da. Then God will build this world from love. Yada da 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 da. So, does anybody have a line they'd like to sing? I guess put your hand up or unmute yourself and sing a line if you like, or tell me and I'll sing it for you, as you prefer. Any takers? Sue. Sue, can you unmute yourself?
I'd take any line.
What?
I would take any line.
Okay, go ahead.
Just like that?
Sing,
Not the rest?
sing what I sang.
Oh.
Substituting a word.
I will build this world from family. Yada da 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 yada da da. And you must build this world from family. Yada da 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 yada da da. And if you build this world from family, yada da 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 yada da da, then God will build this world from family. Yada da 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 yada da da.
Any other takers? Any hands up? Ruth, you want to take a shot at it?
I'm sorry, there's a little crisis in the background. I'm gonna have to leave. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll close us out with one more. I will build this word from joy. La 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 la. And you must build this world from joy. La 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 la. And if we build this world from joy, la 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 la, then God will build this world from joy. La 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 la. Thank you. Okay, moving to the next song, which is called Plant a Seed. I wanted to give an example of a children's song. This is a children's song with an adult metaphor, and it's a call and response. I'm going to sing a line, and you're going to copy the line. And what we're going to do, hold out one hand. And one of the things when you're doing Zoom visual singing is make sure that whatever you do is on screen. So if you hold your hand out like this, it doesn't help. You got to hold your hand close enough to your face that we can see it. Perfect. Then take your other hand and grab this. Can the techie please adjust it to plant a seed? Next page. Grab the seed with your other hand, and we're going to plant that seed in the ground. So I'll sing it to you first and you'll copy me. Just watch first. Plant a seed in the ground. Give that a try. Plant a seed in the ground. And then the second step, you're going to let the roots go down, down, down underneath the ground. Like so. Let its roots go down, 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 down. Give that a try. Let its roots go down, 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 down. And then we repeat it with a slight variation, and it goes, we'll do this together. Plant a seed in the ground, let its roots go down. Verse 2. So you put the earth out again, and now the stem is going to show, and then the leaves are going to grow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here's how it goes. Soon the stem will start to show, and the leaves will grow and grow and give that a try. Soon the stem will start to show and the leaves will grow and grow and then we're going to do that again. Listen first. Soon the stem will start to show. Give that a try. Soon the stem will start to show. And then the last line is, and the leaves will grow. And the leaves will grow. And then the last line is, then where nothing used to be, show me a shrug. Nothing used to be. And then you hold out the earth, put your hand underneath, and boom, you explode up. There will be a little tree. Yeah. So listen. Then where nothing used to be, and where nothing used to be, boom, there will be a little tree. Try it. There will be a little tree. Listen. Then where nothing used to be, then where nothing used to be, there will be a tree. There will be a tree. Okay, so let's do the song beginning to end all together. Copy along as best you can. And even if you don't get the melody right, you'll get the actions. Here we go. Plant a seed in the ground. Let its roots go down, 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 down. Plant a seed in the ground. Let its roots go down. Soon the stem will start to show, and the leaves will grow and grow, and soon the stem will start to show, and the leaves will grow. Then where nothing used to be, there will be a little tree. Then where nothing used to be, there will be a tree. And so we have planted many trees here today. All right, so we're getting to the end. Next page, we're going to skip over some great sing-alongs. Siman Tov. Karun Kashikian is a choir member who's arriving late. I see that she's in the waiting room. We're going to skip over Siman Tov, Shalom Chaverim, Hevenu Shalom Alechem, because I want to leave time to conclude with Misha Berach, which I mentioned earlier in the talk, is the second to last song of every choir rehearsal. The last song varies, but for today, I'd like to conclude with Hatikva. So Yochevet's going to lead us, or going to do, we need to get on to Misha Berach, which Yochevet will do a solo on, and you're welcome to join in if you know the melody. And then when we get to that, we'll go to Hatikva.
I will sing this Misha Berach for Karun, our choir member.
Why you don't let me see it? Something.
Okay, I'm singing it for you, Karun, and I'm starting right now.
It says I am
Misha Berach Avotenu Kor HaBracha Limotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Makor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Thank you, Roz. I want to thank you so much for leading us through that. It's I honestly, I never knew that we could sing without well, screwing up, so much as I usually do on Zoom. So it has been an eye-opening experience at the very least, to say the least. And I think this is a very fitting way to end a long day. Like I said, the first community day, virtual community day that the ACGS has ever held. Tomorrow, well, first, again, let me thank everybody who has presented, who has chaired, who has been a part of the panels, who has joined us from all parts of the world, as far away as Australia. That's probably the winner, Rebecca. Thank you very much for that. What we'll be doing is shutting up shop for the evening, and then tomorrow morning, for those that are a part of this, well, we're going to have the annual general meeting for the ACJS at 9 o'clock, and then our first session begins at 10:45 a.m. On advocacy, chaired by Ira Robinson, Professor Robinson. So thank you to everyone. Have a lovely evening. Thank you very much to the panelists, and an absolute pleasure to have all of you here with us this evening. And good evening and good night. Thank you.